Sophie arrives at the edge of that remote, time-forgotten property with a small suitcase in hand and a heart still bruised from everything she'd been trying to leave behind. The air feels colder there, almost as if the house itself is holding its breath, watching her. She steps onto the creaking porch, brushing her fingertips over the worn wood, wondering how a place she never knew she'd inherit could stir such a mix of fear and hope. Inside, the dusty scent wraps around her like a memory she doesn't own. Each silent corner seems to ask who she is and why she's come. And somehow, despite her nerves, she feels the faint pull of something waiting. Walking through the dim hallway, she notices faded portraits lining the walls, their cracked frames holding faces that stare with unsettling familiarity. Sophie pauses in front of one, an older man with sharp eyes, and tries to recall the distant uncle her mother barely mentioned. The stillness around her feels almost heavy, as if every room holds a story that hasn't been told in decades. She senses something unresolved lingering in the air, like a question half-whispered and never answered. It gives her a strange shiver, not entirely unpleasant. Maybe this place has been waiting for someone to listen. That first night, exhaustion seeps into her bones, but sleep avoids her like a stubborn secret. As she lies in the old guest room, she hears the house settling. Tiny cracks, groans, but then something else, something softer, a faint whisper, almost like a breath brushing past her ear, too close to be imagined. Sophie's heart jolts, though she tries to rationalize it, telling herself old houses make strange sounds. Still, the whispers feel purposeful, like they're nudging her towards something she isn't ready to name. And deep down, she wonders if this is only the beginning of what the house wants to show her next. The next morning, Sophie wakes up with that lingering unease clinging to her like a shadow that forgot to let go. Sunlight spills through the thin curtains, revealing corners she didn't notice before. Scattered books, a teacup still stained from decades-old use, a rug frayed from footsteps long gone. She takes a slow breath, feeling the weight of a house that's lived far more life than she has. There's a strange comfort in it, like stepping into a story already in motion. Still, the memory of the whispers tugs at her mind. She can't shake the sense that they weren't just sounds, but invitations. She wanders through the kitchen, noticing how the morning light softens the edges of peeling wallpaper and cracked tiles. The place feels abandoned, yet oddly welcoming, like it's trying to remember how to be a home again. Sophie opens a cabinet and finds a collection of mismatched cups, each carrying its own silent history. She picks one up, tracing the chipped rim with her thumb, imagining hands long gone doing the same thing. These tiny details stir something warm in her chest, a tenderness she hasn't felt in months. Maybe this inheritance isn't just a burden, but a chance to start stitching herself back together. By midday, she decides to explore the rest of the house, hoping movement will quiet the anxious flutter inside her. Every step echoes through the long corridor, bouncing off walls thick with secrets. She wipes dust off an old dresser, revealing a carved initial she doesn't recognize. A gust of cold air sweeps past her, raising goosebumps on her arms, and she stops, wondering if a draft could truly feel that intentional. Something about the house feels aware of her presence, almost grateful she's there. And as she moves toward the staircase, she senses there's much more waiting for her than just forgotten rooms. As afternoon fades into a muted amber glow, Sophie finds herself drawn to the upstairs hallway, where the air feels noticeably heavier. The portraits here are different, more somber, more intimate, as if they capture moments not meant for strangers' eyes. One in particular pulls her closer, a woman with gentle features and eyes full of unsaid sorrow. Sophie studies her face, feeling an unexpected tug in her chest, a recognition she can't explain. It's almost as if the woman is trying to tell her something she once tried to bury. The silence around Sophie thickens, urging her to keep looking deeper. Later that evening, she steps back into the guest room, feeling the house press in with a quiet intensity. She sits on the edge of the bed, rubbing her hands together the way she used to when anxiety got the best of her. The memories of her recent struggles flicker through her mind. Long nights, difficult endings, a heart trying to rebuild itself. Somehow, the house seems to sense all of it, offering a strange companionship in its stillness. Maybe that's why the whispers return, softer this time, almost soothing. They feel less like warnings and more like gentle nudges toward something she hasn't yet discovered. When darkness settles fully, Sophie turns off the lamp, letting the room fall into that velvet silence only old houses know. She closes her eyes, but her thoughts drift back to the woman in the portrait, and the cold draft that seemed to circle her earlier. There's a growing awareness inside her that the house isn't simply old, it's alive with memories she's meant to unravel. Her breath slows, matching the pulsing quiet, and she feels a curious sense of anticipation rise within her. It's as though the house is guiding her toward a truth waiting just beyond this first night, ready to shift everything she believes. The next morning, Sophie wakes with the strange certainty that the house wants to be explored, as if its walls have been whispering all night, urging her toward something long forgotten. She moves slowly through the hallway, noticing subtle details she missed before: the uneven floorboards, a faint scent of old lavender, the soft hum of silence pressing against her ears. Her fingers brush along the banister, feeling grooves shaped by hands that lived here decades before her. Each step feels like walking into someone's memories. Curiosity warms her chest, pulling her deeper into the house's quiet stories, and she can't shake the feeling she's no longer wandering alone. In a narrow drawer inside the study, she finds a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon that once must have been pink, but has long faded to a muted gray. The handwriting is elegant, almost trembling, as if written by someone pouring their soul into every word. Sophie reads a few lines and senses an ache woven through them, a longing, a heartbreak, a promise that never found its ending. Her heart tightens, recognizing that kind of pain more intimately than she'd like to admit. These letters feel like pieces of a life cut short, still echoing through the stillness, and suddenly, the whispers she heard don't seem random anymore. As she continues searching the room, she notices an old photograph tucked behind a stack of dusty journals. Two young lovers standing close, their smiles soft but their eyes shadowed by something unspoken. Sophie feels a chill glide down her spine, not out of fear but connection, as if she's been invited into their unfinished story. The whispers return faintly, curling around the back of her mind, clearer than the night before, almost guiding her toward answers she hasn't yet found. She holds the photograph close, sensing its weight, and deep down, she knows this discovery is only the first thread in a much larger tapestry waiting to unravel. Sophie spends the rest of the afternoon moving through the house with a new sense of purpose, almost as if the letters awakened something inside her. Every corner she enters feels charged with quiet emotion, the air thick with stories trapped between peeling layers of paint. She opens a wardrobe in the upstairs bedroom and finds a delicate perfume bottle, its scent faint but still sweet, like a memory refusing to fade. Holding it, she imagines the woman who once used it, wondering what moments she wished she could relive. A wave of tenderness washes through her, surprising her with its intensity. It feels like she's getting closer to someone she's never met. As daylight softens, the whispers begin again, gentle at first, then clearer, shaping themselves into subtle patterns she almost recognizes. They guide her steps toward the back of the house, where an old window filters in golden light. Sophie feels her pulse quicken, not from fear, but from the strange comfort those whispers bring, as if they trust her. She places her hand on the cool glass, watching dust swirl lazily in the fading sun. For a moment, she senses someone standing beside her, not threatening, but longing to be seen. Her breath catches, and she wonders if these spirits have been waiting for someone willing to listen. Later, she steps outside to clear her mind, and is startled to see a man leaning casually against the fence, a warm smile easing the tension she didn't realize she was carrying. Lucas introduces himself with a gentle, familiar charm, as if he's known this house, and its ghosts, far longer than she has. He listens intently as she mentions the whispers, nodding with a knowing look that sends a shiver down her spine. There's kindness in his eyes, but also a hint of caution, like he's weighing what to reveal. And just when Sophie starts feeling safe in his presence, he tells her the house has stories even locals don't dare to uncover. Lucas steps a little closer, lowering his voice as if the wind itself might be listening. He tells Sophie that people in town whisper about her uncle's house, the same way children whisper about shadows, fearfully, but with a strange kind of reverence. She watches him closely, noticing how his expression softens when he speaks about the past, as though he carries his own quiet history with this place. There's sincerity in the way he describes the strange noises residents reported over the years, the whispers no one could explain. Sophie feels her heart tighten, not in fear, but in recognition. It's comforting to know she isn't imagining everything. They walk toward the porch together, and Lucas pauses to glance at the dusty windows, his gaze thoughtful. He tells her that love stories, especially tragic ones, leave marks deeper than time itself, and this house might be holding on to one. His words sink into Sophie like warm tea on a cold morning, grounding her, even as they stir new questions. She senses a quiet empathy in him, like he understands what it feels like to lose something important. Standing beside him, she feels a fragile sense of connection forming, the kind that grows in silence before either person notices. Before leaving, Lucas offers to help her uncover more of the house's past, though his tone carries a hint of hesitation, as if he's unsure whether he's guiding her toward healing or danger. Sophie thanks him, feeling a gentle flutter in her chest she hasn't felt in a long time, the kind that reminds her she's still capable of wanting, of trusting. When he walks away, the whispers return inside the house, clearer now, almost expectant. Sophie steps back through the doorway, sensing that the past is opening itself to her piece by piece, and she knows the house hasn't shown her its most guarded secret yet. The next morning, Sophie wakes with a renewed determination humming quietly beneath her skin, as if the whispers in Lucas's stories have aligned into a silent invitation. She moves through the house with sharper awareness, paying attention to details she previously overlooked, the way the floor dips near the study, the faint discoloration on the wallpaper that seems to outline something hidden. Her palm grazes the railing as she descends the stairs, and she can almost feel the house responding, like it's grateful she hasn't turned away. There's a subtle thrill in her chest, the kind that comes when stepping into a truth long concealed. She isn't just exploring anymore, she's searching. Lucas arrives shortly after noon, carrying a small flashlight and an old notebook he claims belonged to his grandfather, a man who once knew her uncle well. Sophie watches the way Lucas's fingers trace the worn edges of the notebook, sensing the weight of generational secrets behind it. Together, they flip through its pages, discovering references to blocked-off rooms, forgotten journals, and a silence in the house that breathes. The words send a shiver down Sophie's spine, igniting both fear and curiosity. She can feel Lucas studying her reaction with quiet concern, and somehow, his presence steadies her in a way she never expected. They start with the upstairs hallway, where Sophie once felt the air heavy with unspoken stories. Lucas taps gently along the wall until a hollow sound echoes back, breaking the stillness like a confession. When he pries open a hidden panel, dust spills out in a slow cascade, and a narrow passage reveals itself, cloaked in shadows. Sophie's breath catches as she steps inside, the scent of old paper and cold stone enveloping her senses. Her heartbeat quickens with each careful step, the whispers now faint but present, almost guiding her. Something in this darkness feels familiar, as though she was always meant to find it. The hidden passage leads them to a small room tucked behind the main wall, untouched for decades. Dust motes dance in the narrow beam of Lucas's flashlight, landing on stacks of yellowed letters and leather-bound journals. Sophie picks one up with trembling hands, feeling the fragile paper crack slightly under her fingers. Each word is saturated with longing and desperation, a silent confession frozen in time. As she reads, the voices in her mind echo the emotions trapped in the ink: love, loss, regret. Her chest tightens, and for a moment, she wonders if she's intruding on lives that never wanted to be remembered. Lucas leans close, pointing out subtle patterns in the correspondence: a secret meeting place, a name whispered repeatedly, dates that form a story almost too heartbreaking to follow. Sophie listens, feeling the weight of the tragedy pressing down, yet a strange empathy stirs within her. It's as if the room itself wants them to understand, to bear witness. The air grows colder, and she can feel the faint brush of unseen presences lingering nearby. A shiver runs down her spine, not from fear, but from the intensity of connection. Something vital is waiting for them, a revelation that will demand courage to confront. They explore deeper, uncovering a hidden drawer in an antique desk, revealing a folded note that reads like a final confession. Sophie's fingers tremble as she unfolds it, and the words almost leap off the page with raw emotion. The lover's story begins to take shape: a forbidden passion, secret promises, and a heartbreak that left souls restless. The whispers grow louder now, weaving through the shadows like threads leading her forward. Sophie glances at Lucas, seeing the same mixture of awe and solemnity mirrored in his eyes. She realizes they are no longer just observers. They are part of the story, entwined in a past reaching out from beyond the veil. Sophie carefully places the note back into the drawer, her mind swirling with the lover's unfulfilled dreams and silent sufferings. The house feels almost alive now, the shadows shifting as if acknowledging her understanding. She senses that the whispers aren't warnings anymore. They're invitations to finish what was left undone. Her heart races, caught between the thrill of discovery and the weight of responsibility. Lucas watches her, a quiet understanding in his gaze, as if he knows exactly what she's feeling. There's a subtle electricity in the air, binding them together in purpose and emotion. As they step back into the hallway, fleeting silhouettes flicker across the walls, vanishing before they can fully form. Sophie feels a chill brush her arm, followed by a strange warmth, as if the spirits themselves are testing her courage. She swallows hard, but the fear doesn't overwhelm her. It sharpens her focus. Lucas reaches for her hand, a steadying anchor in the midst of uncertainty, and she grasps it instinctively. Their shared silence speaks volumes, a wordless promise to face whatever comes next together. The house, with all its history and mystery, seems to pulse with anticipation around them. By evening, Sophie and Lucas sit among the scattered letters and journals, piecing together fragments of a story both beautiful and tragic. Every revelation pulls them closer, not just to the past, but to each other. Sophie's chest tightens with a mixture of sorrow and awe, realizing that some love stories leave echoes long after the heart stops beating. The whispers continue softly, guiding their hands to the final pieces of the puzzle, and as the candlelight flickers across their faces, Sophie knows that the next step will demand bravery, unlike anything she's faced before. A secret deeper than heartbreak waits, ready to change everything. The days that follow find Sophie and Lucas drawn together in a rhythm neither expected, exploring the house's secrets while discovering an unexpected closeness between them. Their hands brush over dusty pages, fingers lingering longer than necessary, and a quiet laughter begins to fill the spaces that once held only shadows. Sophie notices a warmth spreading through her chest whenever Lucas offers insight or gently teases her, a light breaking through the weight of the house's lingering sadness. There's comfort in his presence, but also a thrill she hasn't felt in years. As they work side by side, Sophie realizes that this partnership, this bond, might be just as significant as the mysteries they're unraveling. The house seems to hum with a quiet approval, almost protective of their connection. One evening, as the sun sets in amber streaks across the windows, Lucas hesitates before revealing a piece of local lore he's never shared with anyone. Sophie leans in, intrigued, sensing the significance in his words. He speaks softly, warning her that some spirits in the house resist closure, clinging to memories with a persistence that can unsettle even the strongest heart. Yet there's an intensity in his gaze that makes Sophie trust him without question. The house feels alive, almost expectant, and she senses that the whispers might be urging her to face not just the past, but her own vulnerability. It's a delicate balance between fear and courage, and she feels it settling into her bones. Later that night, the two sit in the library, surrounded by flickering candlelight and stacks of letters they've been piecing together. The air is thick with the scent of old paper and the subtle musk of the house, comforting yet eerie. Sophie can't help but notice the small gestures Lucas makes, the way he offers her a hand to steady herself on uneven floorboards, the careful attention in his eyes when she reads aloud. Each moment builds a quiet intimacy, one that neither force nor expectation could manufacture. And as they decipher another fragment of the lover's story, Sophie realizes that the house is no longer just a place of echoes, it's a space where her own heart might finally feel seen. As days blend into nights, Sophie feels the line between past and present blur, especially when the whispers grow more insistent, guiding her toward hidden corners of the house. Lucas follows closely, offering steady support, his presence both grounding and exhilarating. There's a subtle electricity whenever their hands brush over a journal or a hidden note, a spark that neither can ignore. The house seems to sense it too, creaking and sighing as if approving their closeness while reminding them of the unfinished stories still lingering in its walls. Sophie feels a thrill in the intimacy of shared discovery, and a hint of fear. What if their curiosity awakens more than they're ready for? One evening, a sudden chill sweeps through the parlor, and the whispers escalate into hushed voices that seem almost urgent. Sophie's breath catches, a shiver running down her spine, but Lucas reaches for her hand, anchoring her in a wave of courage. Together, they follow the sounds to a small, forgotten room behind the grand staircase. The air is dense with history, the scent of aged paper and faded perfume lingering like a ghostly memory. Sophie senses the emotions trapped here: love, despair, longing, and realizes the spirits are no longer just guiding her, they're testing her willingness to confront the heartache that shaped this house. In the soft glow of candlelight, as they uncover another letter, Sophie feels something shift between her and Lucas. The story of the star-crossed lovers mirrors their own delicate connection, weaving tension and tenderness in equal measure. Every glance and shared discovery deepens the bond, while the spirit's presence amplifies their emotions, making each moment feel urgent and fragile. Sophie notices the way Lucas watches her, not just seeing her curiosity, but her heart, her fears, her quiet strength. She realizes that facing the house's history isn't just about the past, it's about opening herself to love again, even in the shadows. The following night, Sophie and Lucas sit by the fireplace, letters and journals spread around them, the flickering flames casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. The house feels alive, as if it's holding its breath, watching them work. Sophie notices the subtle tremor in Lucas's hand as he reaches for her, and she squeezes it, feeling warmth ripple through her. The whispers drift around them, softer now, almost like sighs of relief. In that quiet moment, she realizes their bond has grown into something tender yet unshakable, born from shared courage and fragile vulnerability. The house's past and present seem to merge, and she can feel herself becoming part of its story. Suddenly, a draft stirs, and a delicate object falls from a shelf, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Sophie gasps, and Lucas leans close, his shoulder brushing hers, anchoring her as curiosity and caution wrestle within her. They uncover a letter sealed with a crest she's never seen, its words pulsing with unresolved longing. The spirit's presence intensifies, their whispers almost guiding Sophie's eyes to the truths that have long been buried. She feels a shiver that's equal parts fear and excitement, knowing the moment is pivotal. The energy between her and Lucas hums, a mixture of tension and trust that neither of them can ignore. As they read the letter together, the depth of the lover's tragedy becomes undeniable, each word heavy with emotion and unfulfilled desire. Sophie's hand brushes Lucas's again, and this time the contact lingers, a silent acknowledgement of the feelings growing between them. The house seems to respond, creaking gently as though leaning into their closeness. Sophie senses the whispers urging them toward resolution, hinting that love, both past and present, can find its way even through shadows. And as the candlelight flickers across their faces, Sophie realizes that what awaits them next will demand both courage and heart, a journey that will change everything they thought they knew. Morning sunlight streams through the dusty windows, casting a golden glow over the rooms that have held so many secrets for decades. Sophie feels a strange serenity as she walks through the halls, the whispers quieter now, like gentle echoes guiding her. Lucas trails behind, notebook in hand, his eyes scanning the walls with a mixture of reverence and anticipation. Together, they sense the final pieces of the lover's story are close at hand. The house feels almost expectant, the air thick with the weight of unresolved emotions, and Sophie can feel a tremor of both excitement and apprehension. It's a delicate moment, one that could bring closure or stir the past anew. They enter the study, the heart of the house's hidden history, where every surface is scattered with letters, journals, and forgotten mementos. Sophie picks up a faded photograph, the image of two young lovers frozen in a moment of joy tinged with secrecy. Her chest tightens at the sight, and she whispers softly, as if speaking aloud might shatter the fragile peace. Lucas kneels beside her, offering a comforting hand, and together they begin piecing together the final chapter of the story. Each discovery feels monumental, like a bridge between eras, connecting the past's heartbreak with the possibility of release. The house seems to breathe around them, anticipating resolution. As afternoon stretches toward evening, they uncover a final, carefully folded letter hidden beneath a loose floorboard. Sophie hesitates, heart pounding, feeling the weight of the words she's about to read. Lucas's hand finds hers instinctively, a steadying presence against the tide of emotion that rises with every line. The letter reveals the lover's ultimate fate, an ending of love thwarted by circumstance, yet not without moments of hope and enduring connection. Sophie feels the house shift, as if a burden has been lifted, the whispers softening into quiet sighs of relief. In that moment, she understands that the spirit's unrest was not just about unfinished business. It was about being acknowledged, understood, and finally allowed to rest. As twilight settles over the house, Sophie and Lucas move through the rooms, gently placing letters and mementos back in their resting spots. The air feels lighter, the shadows softer, as if the house itself is exhaling after decades of holding on to sorrow. Sophie pauses by the grand staircase, her fingers tracing the banister, and she senses a quiet gratitude lingering in the space. Lucas stands close, their shoulders brushing, a silent reassurance that they have done something meaningful together. The whispers have dwindled to almost nothing, replaced by a serene hush that fills every corner. It's a rare, fragile peace, delicate yet profoundly comforting. In the library, Sophie finds herself smiling at a small, forgotten object, a locket that had long been hidden, now resting openly on the shelf. The spirit's presence feels warmer here, almost protective, as if acknowledging her care and understanding. Lucas leans in, whispering a gentle comment that makes her laugh softly, the sound echoing through the room like a balm. Every corner of the house seems alive with memory, yet free from the weight of unrest. Sophie realizes that their efforts didn't just uncover the past, they healed it, turning lingering grief into something that can finally be released. It's a quiet triumph, one that resonates deeply within her. By nightfall, the house feels transformed, no longer a place of whispered fears, but of calm reflection and lingering warmth. Sophie walks through each room slowly, savoring the stillness, feeling a connection to both the past and the present. Lucas joins her on the veranda, the stars shimmering overhead as if the universe itself is bearing witness. There's a gentle intimacy between them now, unspoken yet undeniable, as if shared triumph has forged a bond neither could have anticipated. Sophie knows that staying here means more than inheriting a house. It means becoming part of its story, embracing love, history, and new beginnings all at once. And as the wind stirs softly, carrying with it the faintest echo of gratitude, she senses the final chapter is near, ready to close with peace. In the quiet of the night, Sophie and Lucas sit together by the fireplace, the house finally at peace. The whispers that once haunted the corridors are gone, replaced by a gentle calm that feels almost like a heartbeat of contentment. Sophie reflects on the journey, the fear, the discoveries, the intimacy, and feels a profound sense of gratitude for every step that led her here. Lucas watches her with a soft smile, understanding the weight of her emotions without a word. The house, once a vessel of sorrow, now radiates warmth, embracing both history and the life they've begun to weave together. It feels as though the spirits themselves are watching, finally resting. They walk through the rooms one last time, lingering on the places where love and loss once collided. Sophie notices how the light catches the dust in a way that makes it sparkle, as if the house itself is celebrating renewal. Lucas takes her hand, and together they feel the culmination of both their efforts and emotions. The story of the past finally honored, the present enriched, and the future wide open. Every small gesture, every whispered secret, has led to this fragile, beautiful balance. Sophie realizes that this home, with all its history and mysteries, has become a part of her, just as she has become a part of it. There's no fear now, only a quiet joy that permeates the air. As dawn begins to break, the house glows in the soft morning light, signaling a new beginning. Sophie and Lucas stand together on the veranda, hearts aligned, ready to face whatever comes next with courage and love. The spirits, finally at rest, leave behind a legacy of connection, reminding them that love, both remembered and newly discovered, can transcend time. Sophie feels a deep sense of belonging, both to the house and to the life she's carving with Lucas. The journey that began with whispers has ended with serenity, but the promise of future happiness lingers, filling every room with light. And in that moment, the old house, once haunted, becomes a home, alive with love, healing, and endless possibility.